Hello, David Perlman here for Conversations at thewholenote.com. It's June 20th, 2012, longest day of the year, and probably not as long a day for some as for my guest.
How appropriate.
Roman Borys of the Griffin Trio. Straight from the airport, which sounds impressive, except it's the downtown airport, right?
Okay, except I had to ride my bicycle.
Oh, you
here.
had
No.
to.
I could.
You could have. It's that close, yeah. So, Roman, you spent the day in Ottawa wearing one of your many hats.
I was definitely wearing the artistic director of the Ottawa Chamber Music Society hat today, all day long.
You left Toronto in the morning? And
Yes, I was on the 8 o'clock flight, and the staff there had me meeting a number of our supporters. You know, it's that time of year where we're finalizing all of their commitments, and sometimes going back to them and talking to them about things that I'm particularly enthusiastic about that might, occasionally help them convince themselves that they should support us a little more. That kind of thing is very important, and the festival's going very well. Had all sorts of other things to do, and it's actually very exciting. It's my favorite time of year as far as everything is concerned.
Summer?
Yeah, actually, right this moment.
Right this moment?
I mean, we're sort of marking this moment. You mentioned already that it's June 20th and that it's the longest day of the year. It's in some ways, once tomorrow's by, it's just sort of the days get shorter. I just can't cope with that,
Well,
Not
only
really.
slightly shorter and very slowly. So you were in Ottawa today. You and Annalie Patipatanakun, that's your life partner,
That's
also your violin partner in Griffin Trio, and you're both co-artistic directors? How does that work?
I am the artistic director, and Annalie and Jamie are both, Jamie Parker, the pianist of the Griffin Trio, are both artistic advisors.
So they make sure you get it right?
Well, exactly.
Sometimes before, sometimes after, right?
Exactly. But, we spend a lot of time together and on the road touring, and we, during the travel periods, we have a lot of time to talk about things. And it's really helpful to be able to just talk about the ideas that I have. They talk to me about things. We just talk about music in general. I mean, I have to say that a lot of what it is that we as a group believe in, both in terms of the kind of our approach to music making, as well as where the kinds of things we're interested in doing as a chamber ensemble that is very keen to contribute to an active and fertile future for the genre. I mean, those efforts are both that interest is reflected both in our Griffin Trio activities as well as in the way I, together with them, program the festival. The
Ottawa Chamber Festival.
Very much so.
But tomorrow you're off to Palo Alto?
Palo Alto. Actually, tomorrow's a day off. Friday we're off to Palo Alto.
Yeah?
Yes,
what are you doing out there? This is as Griffin Trio,
yes, as
right?
the Griffin Trio. Yeah. The St Lawrence Quartet runs a chamber music seminar. They are the ensemble and residents at Stanford University. It's a wonderful residency that they have there. And have had for many years, and developed this chamber music seminar, which is a 10-day affair and is mostly teaching, some playing. And what's really interesting about it is the makeup of the student body, as it were. It's not a huge group, but we sort of have equal parts young, aspiring musicians in preformed quartets, sometimes trios, mixed with amateur musicians.
How interesting!
And we just love that mix and that kind of teaching. It's it's Stanford. I mean, we've had a couple of years ago, there was a Google trio, all the three employees of Google, actually all sort of long-time employees of Google, so in the very early stages. And, neuroscientists, people with all sorts of, you know, degrees in their back pockets, and you know, very, you know, high achievers, and on top of everything else, I mean, they excel in music. I mean, and they're not all like that, but it's interesting for us to interact with people like that. They play very well, and yet what's very comforting for us is that we're not responsible in any way in helping them make a career in music. I mean, life...
Because thank God they have careers, and they're not going to have to deal with what musicians have to deal with.
It's just sort of, you know, a little less pressure. We don't have to worry about that. They're simply doing it for the love of music, and it's, you know, to see them, you know, take vacation time, travel often across the continent, and, you know, spend 10 days just playing all day long. I mean, we have coachings with them between, you know, 9 and 5 for just generally speaking, and then the evenings they get together and they read chamber music, and, you know, and then socialize and read more chamber music, and then switch, and then we get in there a little bit. But it's fabulous, and there's something very important that I think the young aspiring musicians see, and they register, and if for those, and many have gone on. I mean, you know, the Cecilia Quartet were there a number of years ago.
Wow.
The Cecilia and Afiara were there many years ago. The Linden Quartet was there the last time we were there, and they are a half Canadian quartet that I'll be presenting in Ottawa this summer together with the Cecilia and Afiara. And it's great for them to see this, because I think I think they get a sense of what it is that music really brings to a balanced life, or the way it can contribute to that, and I think it can work out differently for different people in different communities, but to see that,
and to know that in fact your audiences are sometimes full of people who can recognize excellence when they hear it.
I mean, it's nice.
So I wanted to just ask you on that. You said this is the St. Lawrence, it's their residency.
Yeah.
Going back away, were the St. Lawrence in residency at Music Toronto in the early days?
They were ensemble in residence there for a number of years in their early days, and I think that I'm not remembering all the details, but I mean, following that, then the Griffin Trio became the ensemble in residence, but at the same time, Jennifer Taylor encouraged the creation of the Toronto String Quartet, which was an ensemble that Anna Lee and I and Martin Beaver and David Harding were members of. And then when Martin got the job as the first violin in the Tokyo String Quartet, then Scott St. John played with us in that ensemble for a while, and it was sort of the ultimate honeymoon quartet. We had a couple. Jennifer Taylor created, set things up such a way that the Griffin Trio had a couple of concerts a year, and the quartet had a couple of concerts. It gave us wonderful opportunities,
fertilization of stuff that happened in that little series,
and to sort of continue to develop our own skills as chamber musicians, learn from one another. And it's a great thing to be able to play in a string. I'm very, very thankful, really, to Jennifer that she created this opportunity for us to be. I mean, Martin's gone on to play in one of the greatest string quartets in the world,
which alas is about to be no more with us.
I know it's.
I remember you crossing paths with St. Lawrence Quartet. I don't know what this is, maybe at Lula Lounge.
That was our very first Lula Lounge, and again, that was a Music Toronto produced concert.
I remember that some of the repertoire of that was also, is it called Dance of the Dictators?
Dance of the Dictators.
From Constantinople, Christos Hatzis' piece, which was also born in that Music Toronto incubator.
It was. Jennifer Taylor and Music Toronto have, I mean, there's an organization that I could, and a particular individual that we have a great deal of gratitude that we extend towards, and somebody that I can talk about for a long time. That's a real, one of the great sort of foundations in chamber music in this country. And I think somebody who's really, Jennifer Taylor, this is now that I'm speaking of, who's just very quietly and persistently, and it's lucky that on top of everything else, this someone who understands the genre, who understands the business of presenting music, presenting concerts, also on top of this, luckily, has great stamina. Because if you don't have stamina in chamber music, it's just... Anyhow.
I was looking at this. This goes back to
Who is that guy?
1997. I was going to ask you...
It's Emilio Estevez.
How come you still have as much hair as you did back then? None of us have managed the same thing. But this was early in our days. This was just after we changed the name from Pulse to WholeNote.
Right.
In fact, we're still billing it as the magazine formerly known as Pulse. So I open it up and it says... our cover, the Griffin Trio, Jamie Parker piano, Anneli Patipatanakun violin, Roman Borys cello. So quixotic is the idea of even attempting to make a career of playing chamber music that in the presence of people daring to dream the dream, you can only cast skepticism to the wind.
Mm-hmm. That's quite a statement, and boy, did we do that.
You stuck to it, eh?
We did.
So after the Stanford thing, give me a little bit of an itinerary through the summer. Because it's an interesting way of following how things go. It's just to follow people on the road, which is what we try to do.
Summer for us has already begun. So we've just come back to Toronto, having spent 10 days at the Agassiz Chamber Music Festival in Winnipeg, which is run by Paul Marlene, who's a cellist who now teaches in Ontario at the University of Ottawa. So we're just back from that. Going to Stanford, come back from Stanford and actually have a little time to ourselves, a sort of a week kind of vacation, we call it that. Mm-hmm. On July 15th, we're playing on Amherst Island in the wonderful chamber music series there. So we're, James Campbell, clarinet, will be joining us. Jamie Parker and I will be playing the Brahms clarinet trio with him, and I think we're playing a Dvorak trio and something else. Coming back to Toronto and then going to Parry Sound for a couple of concerts.
At Festival of the Sound. So that's Campbell again.
That's Campbell again. The July 22nd, we're performing in the afternoon. It's a big year for them. I think they're celebrating already 10 years of the hall that they have. They're wonderful halls. So many people haven't been to the center for
Hockey Hall of Chamber Music fame.
It's
a great thing.
It really is a brilliant thing. So we have a recital there on the 22nd, and then coming back on the 24th to perform our Broken Hearts and Madmen program with Patricia O'Callaghan. And this is actually something that was born of that of the work that we've done at the Lula Lounge. This is Broken Hearts and Madmen is in fact an album that Roberto Occhipinti, bass player, jazz bass player, and great arranger, musician, produced and was responsible for many of the arrangements, and just great music. Hilario Duran,
who was there at that first.
Exactly. I mean, both of them. I mean, you can see they were both with us from the very beginning.
So you cultivate these
relationships
and you work with them over time. You know,
and develop great friendships. And we've learned that, you know, there's no end of sort of talent out there. But we like to work, and so therefore you might as well just choose really nice people that are talented. I mean, there's so many to choose from, and that's something that you do learn. You know, there's so many talented people. You know, work with nice people, and we do. We seem to choose our friends well.
Yeah, so after Broken Hearts and Madmen, where's that one?
That will be at the Stocky Centre as well.
Oh, at the Stocky Centre.
Yeah, so we're going back. I mean, we're kind of coming back and forth because that week is a big one for us because we have to be rehearsing a sort of a retrospective Lula program that we're doing with the Hilario Duran Trio. So Roberto Occhipinti, Hilario, Mark Kelso, Filled Wires coming over from Vancouver will be joining us. Drew Jureka will be joining us,
a great
violinist and jazz player in this ensemble. So we'll be rehearsing that week in between the Perry Sound gigs, and on the 26th we'll be back in Toronto, and I almost said opening the Toronto Summer Music Festival, but in fact the reason I almost said that the festival will have been going on. We'll be playing at the Kerner Hall as part of their series, and we'll be playing the Dvorak Quintet with Steve Dan and Scott St. John, which will be really fun. But the reason I almost said it was opening was because that day is actually the opening concert of the Ottawa Chamber Music Festival. But see, that's where sometimes we get a little bit caught when we wear the multiple hats, but it's okay. Our festival in Ottawa will be in very good hands. It's being opened by the Canadian Brass, and that'll be a great day and great opening program.
A different kind of longevity in that group because their change is a constant.
It is a constant,
other than a couple of key.
It's kind of a real sort of strategic kind of rejuvenation there, and I mean that in the absolute best sense, because they've got, I mean, the current formation seems to have really gelled and is very interested. And again, not to suggest that the previous weren't, but these have a particular interest in outreach and really getting out into the community, and so there's a renewed energy there, and I think that's a great thing. You know, I think the founders of that group certainly established a very, very fine idea and sort of a philosophy, and that continues to serve them all well. Yeah, he's still in there.
He's still the anchor.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't think they let him. I don't think they let him drive the car anymore. But you know, I have no idea. But I can imagine. It's a young guys. They always want to drive.
Tuba, cello, anchor man, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, there's something about. I guess we just, you know, cellists have a few more opportunities to sort of count rests. The violinists and pianists they're always playing, but we have a little bit more time. I mean, we don't always count the rests right, but it gives us time to dream up all these other things.
As long as you look introspective, people think you're following, right? So, beyond the summer.
Yes.
Beyond the summer, a big year, right? It's your 20th.
Yeah, I mean, the actual anniversary sort of falls in March. So as a result, the 20th anniversary year really sort of quite naturally, you know, encompasses a couple of seasons. But the first, and then we've been thinking about this for a little while, and have had ideas about what it is that we wanted to see. What we wanted to produce and sort of have emerge. And some of these things have taken a little time to actually put in place. But the first thing that will happen on October 30th, we'll be releasing our 16th CD.
16th.
Yep. And that will be with James Campbell, and it will be a recording of Messiaen's Quartet for the End of Time, which will be.
That was your Luminato.
Well, we've had many
debut, was it? Or not?
No, that was Constantinople. Constantinople was in the very first Luminato.
Oh, that's true.
But since then, we have presented a version of the quartet for the End of Time. We have another theater project sort of in mind. That's been an interesting project. It's a very intriguing subject, you know, just the context in which that piece was written and just Messiaen himself as a great artist and producing one of in the Quartet for the End of Time, producing one of the greatest, you know, acknowledged one of the greatest chamber or really pieces of art in the 20th century. But anyhow,
so that's October.
That's October 30th, and that recording will also include a brand new piece by Alexina Louis, which was commissioned by us to serve as a musical prelude, now stay with me, to a dramatic prologue, a 40-minute play, which has been in the works for a few years now, to a performance of the actual Quartet for the End of Time. So this whole thing is starting to come together. We have the beginning. Alexina will be writing some incidental music eventually for this play, and there's a director and a writer in London, England that are working with us on this, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get that finished and premiered in the next couple of years. But the recording will be sort of the first step.
Incrementally leading towards that.
Yeah,
eh?
and it's significant. We didn't realize, but we recorded the CD in Banff not long ago, and had obviously a lot of time to discuss the piece with. We've been playing it with James Campbell for 8 or 9 years, so we've had a long incubation period there, and then he's been a great mentor for us, and I think just by taking us along the journey of that work, he's really shown us a very beautiful way and a beautiful understanding of that work. And he shared with us that he's been playing that piece for 39 years, and
Sure.
although he recorded it once with Tsuyoshi Tsutsumi, and I forget who the other two collaborators were, but the recording company folded before they could release it, and that master was lost. So this, in fact, will be the first recording of that piece that
For him.
For him, and
That's something too.
it
eh?
is something. It's very we're very honored to be part of that moment for him. It's a great moment for us, but
Yeah, that's something too. And then you say March will be the.
it'll be coming out actually October. Oh yes,
You know,
yes.
you were heading
Yes.
towards March,
March.
as being the kind of from solstice to equinox.
Yes,
there we
exactly.
go.
Very well. That's exactly. Well, we in the interim we're doing a bunch of touring in the U.S. and we're going out and doing. We have a nice residency at Mount Royal College in Calgary. Actually, with James Campbell, which is nice, and playing at Music Toronto in December. Probably starting to record the Brahms trios in December. That's the plan right now. It's just getting set. And then actually in February going to the Great White North. Finally, we've been waiting for a long time to go to Nunavut, but it's finally going to happen, and we decided that if we're going to go and play in Iqaluit and in the northern regions of Canada, that we should just go right in the depths of winter. So in February.
That makes sense.
Well, it does. You really
It's not like your instrument's going to freeze to your lips or anything.
No, actually, the interesting thing is that, of course, the first question people ask is, well, do they have pianos there? Well, not everywhere. And then so
Right.
Jamie does. And Jamie's been up there to do this before. He'll have to play an electric piano, and his brother and all sorts of other, Jackie Parker.
Yeah, sure.
And Janina Fialkowska and Angela Chang, all sorts of pianists have gone up there and have done this. So it's a great thing. But what people don't know is that they also have a cello up there.
Cello, so you won't have to expose your baby to the elements.
Well, because the planes are too small to be able to actually take a cello in the cabin which is what I usually do.
Yeah.
Where in the cabin where it's warm. That's what it's about. It's not so much that that it's going to be banging around back there, but just that it's cold back there, and the temperature changes really wreak havoc with instruments. I mean. So we're going up there. We've got 5 or 6 concerts, and it'll be part of a big, huge. We'll be gone most of February. It seems February is turning into. I mean, there's always October is a big touring month for us, but February seems to be the one where we're kind of gone from one end to the other. So that'll be good. And gosh, I don't know.
That's probably far enough into the future for now.
I agree. I don't want to.
Let's. I think we should wrap, because otherwise,
we could go on forever.
We could go on forever, or we could just get back to it another time. This has been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you.
Great to speak with you, and it's thank you for pulling out this. I mean, this sort of really does take us down. It's I look at this photo. And I think how lucky we are. People ask us, what the secret is, and we really enjoy each other's company. I mean, Jamie's got to be one of the funniest guys. I mean, that's how he blows off steam. He turns it into something funny.
Right.
We just have a great time on the road, and I think we're thrilled we're thrilled with each other's company on stage, and It's a great thing. And
you can hear it. It's nice to watch three people listening to each other on stage. It doesn't always happen, so it's great.
I guess it doesn't. Although, getting back to the Ottawa Chamber Music Festival, that is great enthusiasm and great ears and a great kind of collegiality is what I'm always looking for. And I guess it's very much, again,
It's what you
reflected
guys
in,
do.
that's what we do and that's what we
Yeah.
look for in other musicians. So if people are able to make it out to the Chamber Fest, they'll see 2 weeks of that.
Great.
Great to
Thank
speak
you.
with you.
Nice. And thank you. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.